Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, it's that time of year again, throughout the month of October, reviewing Halloweenish films. And that's right, you read the title of the first Halloweenish film I'm reviewing. Well, I knew that at some point I was going to review this one Halloweenish film that is considered to be the scariest movie of all time. Like, there has never been a horror film like this one. And since this year it's celebrating its anniversary, now is the time to review this. And that being, from 1973, The Exorcist. Yes. Oh my gosh, like, what are the first things I have to say about The Exorcist? Well, first off, there's no denying that it is a difficult film to watch. It is disturbing and beyond terrifying. Like, again, as I said, there has never been a film, and, horror film that is, there's never been a film like The Exorcist, period. And it was one of those movies that, well, it made history. And at first, people thought that it wouldn't work. But sure enough, when it came out, oh my gosh, like, nobody could have imagined what to expect from this movie. And The Exorcist being based off of a novel and a true event, because I remember my dad telling me that, because this did happen. This actually did happen. However, it wasn't a girl that was possessed, it was a boy. But for the movie, like, yeah, the difference is, yeah, it's a girl that's being possessed. Yeah, and I gotta tell you, when I finally watched this for the first time, I'm not joking, I never saw this movie fully, aside from seeing a few clips and pieces of it, and I know, like, what goes on in the film. I hadn't seen this fully until, well, I recently gave it a watch, and of course, now that I'm reviewing it, and you're watching my review. And I gotta say, there were times where I was just like, oh my gosh, like, again, there is no doubt that, for many people, in fact, I've seen, like, the YouTubers who do movie reactions, they're disturbed by this. Anybody would be disturbed by this the first time they watch it. Like, aside from, I guess you could say, like, it's more of a joke, but Beetlejuice, he had seen The Exorcist 100 times, and as he says at best, it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. I don't know, because, like, the many times that people watch it, I don't know, do they get less scared? I don't know. Maybe. But anyways. Alright, so I'll go ahead and read the description / the story. Yeah. Alright, so let me get to it. Alright, because, as always, I have the tablet with me. Okay, here we go. One of the most profitable horror movies ever made. Yeah, it says it right there. It has a point. This tale of an exorcism is based loosely on actual events, as I explained, when young Regan, played by Linda Blair, starts acting odd, levitating, speaking in tongues. Her worried mother, played by Ellen Bernstein, seeks medical help, only to hit a dead end. A local priest, played by Jason Miller, however, thinks the little girl may be seized by the devil. The priest makes a request to perform an exorcism, and the church sends in an expert, played by the late legendary Max von Sydow. I think I am pronouncing his last name wrong, but, still. You know me with pronouncing words and names, to help with the difficult job. Okay, so again, I don't know where to begin with this, because there's so much going on in this movie, clearly. And I knew that, well, the best version of The Exorcist to watch has to be the, extended director's cut. Yeah, as you can tell, because I have my Blu-ray copy of it. So I watched the extended director's cut, but because I think, I even watched a little bit of the behind the scenes, And the director of the film, William Fredkin, I hope I'm saying his last name right, because he was told, like, somebody from Warner Brothers, like, to cut out some scenes that, you know, they didn't have to be in the film. And there was also, there was a friend of Williams, I think, Peter Blatley, I hope I'm saying, in fact, because Peter Blatley, he wrote the Exorcist book, you know, the novel, and I think, because according to William Fredkin, Blatley was disappointed, I guess, on what was cut out of the film, and eventually, in the year 2000, like, the extended director's cut came out, and everything that was cut was put back in, and you know what, because, you know, still, even with the theatrical release of the film, what was not in the film, The Exorcist still turned out a really good success. But even with having the director's cut stuff in it, it's still good. In fact, you know, one infamous scene, like, oh my gosh, I mean, there's a lot of famous shots in this movie. I could name all of them. But one of them, where Regan, again, played by Linda Blair, is coming down the stairs upside down, that was cut from the theatrical release. In fact, because I could have sworn that it was in the theatrical release, but my dad corrected me that it wasn't. And, the reason that it didn't make it into the theatrical release, you know, the final film, is because, well, they weren't able to get rid of the wires, you know. But fast forward, they managed to remove them thanks to CGI. All right, but jumping into the story, because one of the first characters we see, and who he's at, I want to say Egypt. I'm probably wrong, but something like that. You can correct me on that. We get the introduction of Father Marin. I hope I'm saying the name right. Played, of course, again by the late legendary Max von Sydow. Before he was the father, he played Jesus, and then after The Exorcist, fast forward, in the early 1980s, he would become Ming the Merciless. So, pretty cool. So Max von Sydow, he plays the father / the priest, and, you know, because he's like, he discovers some artifacts, I want to say, like, there's, like, this dime, I want to say, and some kind of, like headpiece, whatever it is, and it really disturbs the father, and, you know, he's taking his pills, and even discovers a statue, obviously, of, you know, evil, you know, and at one point, like, you know, he says evil against evil, and that stuff that he discovers, now, if I'm correct, like, they are, of course, linked to what would happen next in the film, so, and then we then cut to Georgetown in Washington, D.C., we are introduced to Chris McNeil, played by Ellen Bernstein, who is a film actress. In fact, because she's there in Washington, D.C., you know, living in a house for now while she's filming a movie down in Washington, D.C., and with her is, of course, her daughter, Regan, played by Linda Blair, also in the house, her secretaria, and she's also Reagan's tutor, that being Sharon, played by Kitty Wynn. And there's also the director that's directing Chris McNeil, Burke Dennings, played by the late Jack McGowan. I hope I'm saying his last name right. You know, I didn't notice this until, like, I gave a couple of YouTube videos where, again, YouTubers doing movie reactions to The Exorcist, and I didn't notice this until I watched one of them where they pointed out that, like, in Chris McNeil's trailer and what the words that are on her trailer, Warner Brothers, because, like, the movie that Chris McNeil is shooting is being produced by Warner Brothers, and the fact that Warner Brothers distributed The Exorcist, like, that's pretty funny and a nice Easter egg, you know, it's one of those, like, Easter eggs, you know. And we also get the introduction of Father Karras. Again, I hope I'm saying some of these names right. Okay, so yeah, again, Father Karras. Again, as I said, being played by Jason Miller. Yeah, the character of Father Karras is an interesting character because like he's like going through like I guess you could say a midlife crisis, and he's starting to lose faith. And for him to be a priest and to lose faith. Jeez. And the fact that we get his mother, Father Karras's mother, that's what her character's name is, and she's credited, Karras's mother, being played by the late I'm gonna do my best to pronounce her full name, Vasiliki Malaris. I may be off. I don't know. Again, bear with me. And I was surprised to discover that this is her only acting role. She has never done a movie, only this. And the fact that this would be her very first and very last movie that she would do, as, she sadly passed away months before The Exorcist came out. And the fact that director William Friedkin discovered her and, hired her to play Karras's mother. Yeah. So that was nice of William. Yeah. So yeah, because Father Karras like living in her mother's place. In fact, her mother's not doing so well. In fact, later on, she's in like a mental hospital, I want to say, and with a lot of people there, just kind of like not doing very good. And very later on, she sadly passes away. The other characters in the film that pop up here and there in this film, like there's Lieutenant Kinderman, who's a detective, being played by Lee J. Cobb. I think it's Cobb. Yeah. There's also Father Dyer, played by William O'Malley. So again, like these two characters, they pop up here and there in the film. In fact, like at the wrap party, because when the movie that Chris was acting in, it came to post-production, filming had wrapped. There was a wrap party that was held at the house that she was living in Washington, and Father Dyer happened to be there as well. And I think at one point, the director of the film that Chris was in, Burke Dennings, he got drunk at one point, I'm pretty sure. And slowly but surely, well, with the character of Regan, because she's this, like, cute and happy, normal, 14-year-old girl, and, her relationship with her mother, they have a great relationship and a great bond, and, like, just kind of playing and teasing with each other, and, golly, because even at one point, like, we saw that Regan, she pulled it out, and, she wanted to play this with her mother. She was playing with a Ouija board. That, oh my gosh, like, what was she thinking? And clearly what would happen next, like, clearly with the Ouija board's doing, In fact, like, Regan mentioned of a ghost, I want to say, Captain Howdy? Yeah, Captain Howdy. Like, and Regan asking questions to Captain Howdy, like, do you think my mom's pretty? Oh, Captain Howdy, that's not nice to say. Like, oh, that's inappropriate, stuff like that. Okay, so slowly but surely, Regan starts to act a bit pretty funny. Like, like she at one point slept in her mother's bed because her own bed was shaking, and then like she was taken to a hospital being checked and so on, and she was really starting to act a bit suspicious. And even at the wrap party at the house that that they've been currently living at, because she was up in her room sleeping, well, she came down and like she out of nowhere said to them, like, you're gonna die, in this house, etc. And she at one point pees. Wow. And yeah, because things are really getting suspicious with Regan. And, this is upsetting, of course, Chris. And, you know, that's when, like, things get much, much worse when, you know, she starts to swear, and it's, like, just shaking and so on. Oh my gosh, and, like, I tell you, with the visual effects and with, you know, Linda Blair's acting, wow, because just so, you know, unsettling and disturbing, terrifying. You know, I could go on. You know, because with her eyes rolled in, like, her throat, and the sour's mine, and the swearing, oh my gosh, like, at the time, when this came out in the early 1970s, like, this movie, I tell you, with its swearing, jeez Louise. And, by the way, because, like, we do get some, like, brief shots of, like, say, like, the demon that's, you know, possessing Regan, like, the, like, shots where we see the demon's face, that was a woman, who, played the facial part of the demon, like, quick shots of the demon that pop up here and there. Sometimes, yeah, the demon's face, and, yeah, she has an uncredited role as the demon's face. Aline Dides. I'm hoping I'm saying the last name right. Probably not, but yeah, she was the performance of the demon's face. In fact, I've looked. She's done some creature makeup stuff and so on. And the demon voice being voiced by the late Marcides McCambridge. Yeah, I hope I am saying the full name right. As I recall, the director, William Fredding, again, if I'm mispronouncing his last name right or wrong, you know, bear with me still. He was disturbed by her performance voicing the demon. In fact, I actually read where she started to have bronchitis, and which, you know, that helped her with her performance of the demon's voice. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Again, just with, you know, Regan being possessed and with the voice, oh my gosh, just bone chilling, and the breathing, just, and the shouting, like, when the characters are downstairs and they hear it from upstairs, oh my gosh, just, again, bone chilling, am I right? All right, and to speed things up a little, some other moments in the film, like, one moment that I'm first thinking of, like, the director that was directing Chris, Burke Dennings, if I remember correctly, at one point, Burke actually was watching over Regan, I want to say, and, well, because of Regan being possessed, and it was the demon's doing, causing Burke to jump out of the window and kill himself. So, unfortunately, Burke was killed. And, you know, many more times where Regan is being taken into a hospital, and they actually filmed in an actual hospital, and, like, the lighting in the hospital, like, they had no, like, lighting, like, sets or anything. Like, the lighting, and according to the director, like, they used the lighting in the hospital. So, yeah. And, like, disturbing, like, and with, like, blood kind of, like, coming out of her neck and so on. Like, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Jeez. Well, I mean, I surprisingly, when I watched the movie, it didn't bother me. I didn't turn away. Although, I think it was the author, I think it was him, Blately, or someone else who worked on The Exorcist, stated that, you know, they turned away when that came up on screen with, like, blood, like, shooting out of her neck in the hospital, you know. That's understanding, yeah, but again, I don't know why I didn't turn away from that. I don't know. I guess, well, sometimes, like, blood and such, like, I don't know, I guess, I'm just saying, like, I guess sometimes, like, it depends, but sometimes it wouldn't bother me, but it all depends, okay? I'm just saying. And also, yeah, psychiatrists, like, trying to, you know, talk with Regan. In fact, one psychiatrist, like, trying to talk with Regan and, you know, mentioning about Captain Howdy. And at one point, the demon possessing Regan grabs him by the crotch and, like, you know, tips him over on the floor. And that was pretty cool in the behind the scenes. Like, he was on a chair and, like, they tipped him over. Like, the effects that they did back in the early 70s, like, even as of now, it would be easy to do, but at the time it was kind of difficult. Like, trying to, shoot scenes where, like, shots, I should say, where they're running up the stairs, and all those other effects, like the one scene where, Chris enters into Regan's room and everything's, like, flying around her room, and, of course, like, the infamous shots where her head spins, like, and you hear that cracking. Oh my gosh, like, yeah, that is disturbing. Oh my gosh, and the fact that, like, I mean, that was practical, like, Regan's head, like, turning and so on. I mean, they built, like, a dummy version of Linda Blair, and it looked too realistic. That's amazing. Like, it's amazing when, like, with practical effects and, like, making real-life dummies of actors, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty good, you gotta do it very good and very detailed, Otherwise, it would just look, like, too fake. You know what I'm talking about. And, oh my gosh, in fact, more disturbing stuff, like, even, like, say, with how old Linda Blair was at the time, I think, and according to the director, like, I think she was around 12 years old when she filmed this, and she didn't know, like what some of the swear words that she was supposed to say, what they meant, and what she was doing, like, I guess at the time she didn't know what she was doing, like, with, like, a cross, and just, like, of course it's the demon's doing, forcing herself to stab her down. Oh my gosh, so disturbing. But looking at the behind the scenes, like, there's, like, some kind of, like, padded, object, and, like, stabbing on the padded object. Yeah, of course, and it would, like, squirt out blood. Yeah, again, just very disturbing. I mean, with the final results in the movie, And by the way, because at one point, there was a cross, placed under, Regan's bed, under a pillow, and I don't think I think it was revealed, but I forgot, like, who it was that put the cross under her bed, and she starts questioning those in the house if they did that and so on. And we find out that Chris is an atheist, yeah. And, for her, like, because nothing's really working out, like, with the doctors, going to the hospital, psychiatrists, nothing. And one of the doctors finds out and, like, discovers that it probably is exorcism. And they would have to get an exorcism, like a priest to do an exorcism on the demon possessing Regan and so on. And, it's up to that point when Chris has no choice but to do so. And of course, she meets with Father Karras, and, Father Karras is telling Chris that, he would have to get permission from the church to do this exorcism. And, that's when, later on, the church lets Father Karras do this, but to have someone with him, Karras would be, like, an assistant priest, And who to do the exorcism? None other than, of course, Father Merrin, Max von Sydow's character. That's the thing, because when I was watching the movie, because we saw him at the very beginning, and then throughout most of this movie, we don't see him until very later on in the film, like 2 hours later. And when he's called in and asked to do the exorcism, like, we don't get that much of his character, but, how the movie turned out, and with some of those characters, well, and the fact because, like, he's one of the main characters, but again, it's one of those movies where, a character, which being one of the main characters, wouldn't be in the film that much. You know what I'm talking about. And so, yeah, Father Merrin receives, like, a telegram, a message to do the exorcism, and the most infamous shot, which being in the poster, and of course I have it for the green screen background, where he gets out of the taxi cab and he's right outside the house. That became a famous shot. And thus Father Merrin comes in, he meets with Chris, Father Karras, they meet for the first time, and, one moment where the two fathers, they are preparing to go in, they get their gear on, basically, and, even Father Merrin, gives Karras a warning that, not to listen to what the demon has to say, tricking them and to believing in this and that and so on. Yeah, don't listen. Yeah. So they enter into the room and, yeah, like, throughout, the rest of what's going on in the house, 2 hours into the film, trying to, get the demon out of Regan. And, of course, the demon just saying a bunch of swears and, oh my gosh, I tell you. And, of course, them throwing holy water on, the demon possessing Regan and, praying and, saying, the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, all that. And, they're doing the best they can to get this demon out of Regan. And, just the disturbing things that the demon does. And, oh my gosh, and I forgot to point this out. I almost forgot about this. Another infamous moment from this movie and, with the demons doing when, Father Karras, a couple of times confronts the demon possessing Regan and trying to do the exorcism himself. At one point, yeah, the demon, telling Father Karras that his mother is present, and supposedly Burke Dennings, of course, that's all a bunch of bull crap from the demon. And at one point, the demon, spits out and shoots green vomit on Father Karras. One of the most infamous moments from The Exorcist with the green vomit. And fun fact, because originally, with the tube shooting out, the green stuff on Jason Miller, it was supposed to, aim at his chest, but it misfired and it hit his face. And Jason Miller's reaction to that was practical. I mean, he didn't see that coming. Well, he thought that it was going to hit on his chest, but no, it hit on his face. That's perfect. That was perfect right there. And when there's stuff like that in movies where it doesn't go according to plan, it was supposed to do this, but instead it does this. Just say, I could think of, in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex broke the top of the car, I'm talking about, and the two kids, that was their practical reaction. They were actually terrified. So that's a good example right there. All right, so back to with the fathers trying to do the exorcism and to get the demon out of Regan. Yeah, because, well, another infamous moment, which being where the demon possessing Regan levitates, yeah, floats in the air out of the bed, and, the two fathers, repeating and shouting, "The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!" And then, she slowly, levitates back down, and, Father Merrin just shouting, "I cast you out! I cast you out!" And still, no luck. And, the fact being, because, I noticed, Father Merrin is, being the bravest, and Father Karras is, slowly but surely just, terrified of doing this, and he's trying to resist, with being scared of the demon. Yeah, I think so, yeah. And, even at one point, because, the demon, fooling Father Karras into believing that his mother is present, and of course Father Merrin is assuring him that, yeah, don't listen and so on. And of course Father Karras is trying to, not to listen, and even shouting at one point, "You're not my mother!" Yeah, even at one point, because even before that they took a break from doing it, and, and Father Karras made a good point, why is a sweet little girl like Regan being possessed? And why? And, even Father Merrin summed it up the best, something to do with trying to get them to, I guess, not to believe in faith, however he put it, yeah. And, the fact that the stuff that Father Merrin discovered while he was discovering I guess he's also an archaeologist, I want to say, I guess, I don't know, but yeah, the stuff that he discovered from that dime and that that headpiece, like, you know, sculpture, whatever. And again, like how they're linked with this movie and of course with the demon, yeah. And with the statue that he saw, that big statue, like type of statue of a devil, I want to say. And at one point, because yeah, Father Karras, after like, you know, he's doing his best not to believe that his mother is present, and Father Merrin tells him to just to step out of the hallway, and Father Merrin is left to still try to do the exorcism. Yeah, at one point, because we see Chris, and, you know, she asks Father Karras if they've had any luck, you know, defeating the demon and with the exorcism, and, you know, they've had no luck. And she even asks Father Karras if Regan's going to die. And Father Karras just looks at her and just says no, because he's gonna stop at nothing to defeat this demon. And when he goes back into Regan's bedroom, well, we see Father Merrin dead. Like, we don't see what happens with Father Merrin and how he got killed, but obviously it's the demon's doing. Obviously the demon killed Father Merrin, I guess, and apparently. I mean, even at one point, because, like, I don't know, I mean, Father Merrin, according to a couple other pastors / priests at a church, Father Merrin had an experience doing an exorcism, and it almost killed him. Well, for this one, it for sure killed him. I mean, even like when, you know, he did have his pills with him, you know, to take and just to calm down and so on, he sadly still got killed. And that's when Father Karras just, like, he can't take it anymore, and he has to stand up and do what's right. Like, and pardon my French, because, yeah, because, like, right, like, you know, he says, you know, you son of a bitch, and grabbing the demon that's possessing Regan, just punching and slapping the daylights out of the demon. And actually, the fact being, because Father Karras actually was a professional boxer, so it shows. And, you know, him shouting at the demon, you know, take me, damn it, take me. And thus, yeah, the demon, you know, goes into Father Karras, and him trying to fight with the demon, just like, no! And then, you know, he sacrifices himself by flying and jumping out of the window and, you know, tumbling down those stairs. And I think he did get killed. I guess later on he died because, well, everybody starts, you know, coming up to Father Karras, you know, with blood spilling out. And, you know, we see Father Dyer show up and holding Father Karras' hand. And yeah, we do see Father Karras' fingers moving. So I think he survived. And I think, yeah, like, because if I remember correctly, Father Karras, he appeared in the Exorcist sequels. Yeah, to think that the Exorcist had a couple of sequels, like, oh my gosh, like, who even asked for sequels to The Exorcist? It's just like, say, who in the world asked for a sequel to Jaws? You get my point. It's one of those things, you know. So, yeah, the demon has been defeated, yeah, because basically, if I'm correct, yeah, because, you know, Father Karras, he sacrificed himself, like, you know, you're coming with me, you know, killing himself, sacrificing himself, you know, that kind of stuff. And thus, yeah, Regan, she's all right. And of course, yeah, after what happened to her, she's just, you know, bawling out with tears and just so emotional. And even at one point, Lieutenant Kinderman showed up, and he got to see what happened, you know, with when Father Karras, you know, he broke the window and he flew out and seen everything, like the aftermath, the results of what happened. And the epilogue to the film, well, it's at this point when Chris and Regan, they move out of the house that they've currently been living in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., and going back to their own home. And by the way, because Regan's father / Chris's husband is mentioned a couple of times, although he's not present in the movie. I was expecting him to show up at the movie at one point. And I even had a couple moments where I was like, is this character the father or not? But no, of course not. So apparently, if I remember correctly, Regan's father is is present at Europe, I want to say. Yeah, he's been in Europe while they've been in Washington, D.C. Even, like, say, like, at one point, Regan's birthday happened, and Regan's father didn't call, like, to call his daughter, wishing her a happy birthday. Maybe he just wasn't able to, reach out to his daughter and wife. I suppose so. So again, with the epilogue, Father Dyer steps in, saying goodbye to Chris and Regan. And Chris at one point gave Father Dyer the dime that made its way to their house, the dime that Father Marin discovered. And again, like, it made its way to the house that Chris and Regan have been living in. And Regan, at this point, she really doesn't remember, like, what happened with her and her being possessed and such. But overall, she's perfectly all right. Still has some scratches after what happened, of course. She meets Father Dyer, I think, for the first time, I think. I mean, they did meet at one point, like, at the rat party, but that's when she was, like, hallucinating, like, she was slowly but surely, And, like, at one point, Regan, like, notices, like, the white collar that he has, and, like, she gives him a kiss on the cheek, and, like, as a way of, thanking him, of course, for helping out with her being possessed and so on. And Father Dyer, like, I think, actually no, because, like, he gave the dime, I think, whatever it was to Chris, but then Chris, like, as they were driving off, like, she shouted out to Dyer to give it back to him, but, he tells her to keep it, yeah. And by the way, because, Chris and Regan, they said their goodbyes to Sharon, of course, yeah, because Sharon did a lot of great stuff for them, being there for them. And then Lieutenant Kinderman once again coming in, and, him and Father Dyer having a conversation. And there were at times, like, where Lieutenant Kinderman, like, brought up about movies, like one that had, like, that has, like, Jackie Gleason and Lucille Ball, like, the conversations that he had with some of the characters from Chris to Father Karras. In fact, like the conversation that Lieutenant Kinderman and Father Karras have, like saying to each other that they look like this celebrity and so on, like, I think, Father Karras said to Lieutenant Kinderman that, if he's ever been asked, like, if, like, been said that he looks like Paul Newman. Okay, so yeah. And I think, at one point, because, right before the movie ends, Lieutenant Kinderman invites Father Dyer to lunch, and, so they walk off together, and boom, that's how the movie ends. Like, oh my gosh. What a way to end the movie right there. Yeah. And of course, as I said, the sequels that we got from The Exorcist, and we all know how, they turned out. I'm sure, because with some of them, they're decent, but most of them just, eh. And one more thing I have to mention. The music/score in The Exorcist, really good. And of course, scary, terrifying, and bone-chilling. And especially the piano theme. Like, even as of now, everybody knows that piano theme from The Exorcist. Just like, say, how everybody knows the piano theme from Halloween. Yeah, those piano-themed tunes, from, those, like, Halloweenish horror movies. You get my point. The Exorcist, again, there has never been a movie/horror film like this one. Because, it made film history, and when this came out, because, if I hadn't mentioned this already, because this caused people, like, just stress and emotion, and, like, them running out of the theater, because at the time when this came out, like, just, it was so intense. And by the way, one other thing I'd like to mention is that, golly, like, this is shocking, because for Linda Blair, she was receiving death threats, with her being in this movie, and Warner Brothers hired police to live at her house to protect her for, like, I want to say, like, 24 or 74 hours, and for many weeks. Jeez, poor girl. Not to mention Linda Blair, especially after this movie, went through so much. Like, poor girl. But, I think as of now, she's doing perfectly all right, and that's good. Yeah. So again, The Exorcist, like, for me, because I won't deny, because it's a really great film, a masterpiece, one of the best scary movies of all time. And I'm giving The Exorcist, it's on my mind, I'm giving it 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for The Exorcist. And what about you guys? Like, oh boy, like, what did you think of The Exorcist? Like, I'm sure you guys were terrified the first time you watched this, because again, no doubt that the first time that anybody watches this movie, it just, like, it's terrifying to them. It just disturbs them. It's just bone-chilling. Yeah, as I've been explaining throughout my review of this movie, it's true. Facts. And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of The Exorcist. More review videos coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And of course, this year's list of Halloweenish films that I'm reviewing has just begun. Stay tuned later tonight, because me and my dad are going to be reviewing a movie adaptation of a certain show. To best describe it, you unlock this door with the key of imagination. You know what I'm talking about. Stay tuned for that. And yep, happy anniversary to The Exorcist. Take care, and peace out.